What's up, Taiwan? I'm Reece with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taipei's celebrating one of Taiwan's major annual holidays, the Dragon Boat Festival. Our reporter Sandy Chi heads to the riverside to catch the races and the treats.
Braving heavy rain and heat on the Keelung River. The Taipei International Dragon Boat Championships was held over the weekend. It's an annual event marking Duanwujie, the Dragon Boat Festival. It's one of the biggest holidays on Taiwan's calendar, celebrated on the 5th day of the 5th lunar month. Dragon boat races have been held in Taipei since as far back as 1895. The city's official event has been held at the Dajia Riverside Park for decades.
今天就是我们端午佳节的龙舟比赛啊，对，那我们已经参加第10年了。
Over 200 teams signed up for the championships this year, hoping to win the grand prize, a record $107,000 US. Many of them had trained for months, and some even had to compete in the rain. But the wet weather couldn't dampen their spirits.
看这个雨，你现在感想如何呢？等下就湿啊，我们很 sexy。等下你看，我们都已经露好了，准备好了。
大家一起奋力，非常开心，终于可以晋级了。
Taipei's race is unique. It still uses wooden dragon boats, handmade by the master boat builder, Liu Qingzheng. In other places, boats are often made with modern materials, like fiberglass or carbon fiber.
Each dragon-shaped vessel can hold up to 21 people, including 18 paddlers, a steersperson, a flag catcher, and the drummer. The drummer sets the pace of the paddlers, and the sound of the drum is said to be the heartbeat of the dragon.
Other than racing dragon boats, there are other, less physically demanding ways to celebrate the festival. Many people eat zongzi, glutinous rice dumplings stuffed with pork, mushrooms, and much more, all wrapped in bamboo leaves. They're sold all over at local markets at this time of year.
小时候我就住菜市场，就是有这个传统。
想说已经过节了，然后来买粽子过一下节这样而已。打算买干贝跟蛋黄的鲜肉粽这样。
Demand for the seasonal treats is always high.
好像不错，目前已经都卖光。
哦，非常的好。
那总共你大概知道每天包几个，卖出几个吗？
哦，每天至少包个1-2千个吧。
There are different stories about why people eat zongzi during the Dragon Boat Festival. The most popular one is about a famous poet, Chu Yuan, who drowned himself in a river over 2,000 years ago in China. To prevent the fish from eating his body, his admirers threw sticky rice dumplings into the river for the fish to eat instead. Fast forward to today, and the Dragon Boat Festival is a vibrant holiday in Taiwan. Every beat of the drum, every stroke of the paddle, and every bite of zongzi brings joy to the community. Patrick Chen, Ryan Wu, Reece, and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Japan is making its first appearance in the biennial US-led Valiant Shield military exercises in the Western Pacific. Valiant Shield is one of the US's largest war games and trains all branches of the militaries involved on how to work together in this part of Asia. Japan says this year armed forces will also carry out drills in waters that extend from Japan to the Philippines and the east coast of Taiwan. The drills will last until June 18th. As military activity ramps up in the Indo-Pacific, countries like Japan are boosting their defenses in case of a conflict. For more on this and how it could affect Taiwan, our reporter Jaime Okan spoke to Robert Ward, Director of Geoeconomics and Strategy at the International Institute of Strategic Studies.
So in terms of this exercise, this Valiant Shield 2024, Japan's first time joining these exercises, what does that say about the role and the position it's going to play in maintaining security in the Indo-Pacific?
Well, Japan's in the middle of perhaps the biggest set of defense reforms that it's undertaken since the end of the Second World War. So really major stuff. And it set out its plans in the 2022 National Security Strategy, which was the end, if you like, of the post-war view that had predominated, basically that Japan would rely on the US for all its defense, would be quite passive. One of the key bits about how Japan views its strategic environment now is it sees it's important to disrupt invasions and the like outside its own territory. And this is a really important psychological, emotional, strategic leap for Japan. But that means that it has to work far more closely now, operationally, strategically, with the United States.
Is there any kind of message that Japan is trying to send here in conducting these large-scale exercises with the U.S.?
Well, with Valiant Shield 2024, clearly Japan's trying to do, and the US trying to do a number of things. One is defense diplomacy to signal to China that the alliance with Japan is ironclad, and it is deepening. And within this, if there was a contingency in Taiwan, Japan's role will be absolutely key for the US, certainly in the early stages of any conflict. So it's very important strategically for the US and Japan to be sending this signal to China.
And in terms of Taiwan and a potential war there, how important is Japan in possibly working with the United States to help Taiwan in the event of a conflict?
I think over the last couple of years, you've seen quite a big change in how Japanese government, Japanese politicians articulate the risks around Taiwan. When Prime Minister Suga met President Biden a couple of years ago, he spoke about the importance of the stability of the Taiwan Strait, the security and the stability in the Taiwan Strait, which was for Japan at the time quite a big thing to say. Since then, you had other people politicians from the cabinet saying Taiwan's security is Japan's security, etc. So the government's now being far more forward-leaning on recognizing the importance of Taiwan security for Japan.
That was Robert Ward of the International Institute of Strategic Studies speaking with reporter Jaime Ocon. Prosecutors are accusing a former China Airlines employee of leaking sensitive information to the alleged head of a Chinese spy ring. They say the leaked information included former President Tsai Ing-wen's itinerary during overseas trips, lists of foreign dignitaries visiting Taiwan, and details related to US arms sales to the country. China Airlines, Taiwan's flag carrier, says it has cooperated in the investigation. The allegations could be added to the case of alleged spy ring coordinator Lu Jixian, who was indicted last year over a Chinese scheme targeting Taiwanese military personnel. Some analysts see the case as a sign China is expanding its espionage against Taiwan.
中共的手法已经不是单纯只是针对目前现任的在政府机构里面的人员，而是透过很多这种外围的已经退役的、退休的。那另外，我们过往通过的反渗透法，还有修改国安五法这些东西，其实也要具体落实。
The sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has warned the South of a new response if it continues anti-North Korean loudspeaker broadcasts in border areas. The South restarted its loudspeakers for the first time in 6 years on Sunday. South Korea's military said the broadcasts began after Pyongyang was warned to stop sending balloons filled with trash towards the south. More than 1,000 have been sent over the border in the past couple of weeks. Seoul says any escalation in tensions is the North's fault.
우리가 취하는 조치들이 북한 정권에게는 감내하기 힘들지라도 북한의 군과 주민들에게는 빛과 희망의 소식을 전해줄 것입니다.
Far-right parties have gained ground in Europe. Polls for the EU parliamentary election have closed, and initial results show defeats for German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and French President Emmanuel Macron. In France, the results have pushed Macron to take extreme action. Joyce Tseng has more.
After 3 days of voting across the EU's 27 member states to elect a new parliament, far-right parties are emerging as the winners.
Europeans have cast their votes, and the world's largest transnational democratic exercise has now concluded.
Far-right parties have secured a stronghold in Italy and made major gains in Austria, Germany, and France, dealing blows to two of the bloc's leaders, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and French President Emmanuel Macron. The results have pushed Macron to dissolve the French parliament and call for snap legislative elections later this month.
Je dissous donc ce soir l'Assemblée nationale. Cette décision est grave, lourde, mais c'est avant tout un acte de confiance. Confiance en vous, mes chers compatriotes, en la capacité du peuple français à faire le choix le plus juste pour lui-même et pour les générations futures.
The gamble comes just as Paris is gearing up to host the Olympics in July, and the move could give the far-right anti-immigrant National Rally Party, who've just won record-high votes, a real shot at political power after years on the sidelines.
Ce soir, un vent d'espérance s'est levé sur la France et il ne fait que commencer.
People in France are hoping Macron's gamble will be worth it.
J'espère que les risques qu'il prend vont porter fruit et je souhaite vraiment que le RN ne passe pas.
C'est la peur de la montée du fascisme en Europe, donc la peur que ça continue de se diffuser, que des personnes violentes se sentent plus légitimées à agir de manière violente, à agresser les personnes LGBT, les personnes racisées, etc.
Not all far-right parties made headway in the EU. In Belgium, Poland, and Hungary, no extremist landslides, but enough of a defeat in Belgium's tandem national vote to push Prime Minister Alexander De Croo to resign. And despite winning the most votes in Hungary, Prime Minister Viktor Orban's far-right party came out with the worst results in Orban's 14-year rule. Meanwhile, the transnational centre-right European People's Party has kept its lead as the biggest group in EU Parliament, a result celebrated by Ursula von der Leyen, who's seeking a second 5-year term as head of the European Commission.
Together with others, we will build a bastion against the extremes from the left and from the right. We will stop them. This is for sure.
But with a record number of seats going to far-right parties, the EU may be headed in a new direction, all while stakes remain high for the world's largest trading bloc, amid mounting anti-immigration sentiment, economic tensions with China, and raging wars in Ukraine and Gaza. Andy Xue and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Narendra Modi has been sworn in for a historic third straight term as India's Prime Minister. Thousands of people attended the ceremony in the capital Delhi, including the heads of neighbouring Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka and the Maldives. But leaders from Pakistan and China were not present. It comes after nearly 2 months of voting in the world's largest democracy. Modi's party won the election with a much lower margin than predicted. The resurgence in India's opposition means this is the first term he will need to form a coalition government. Moderate Israeli politician Benny Gantz has resigned from the country's emergency government after criticising the country's lack of clear aims in its war in Gaza.
לצערי, נתניהו מונע מאיתנו להתקדם לניצחון האמיתי שהוא ההצדקה למחיר הכואב והמתמשך. לכן, אנחנו עוזבים היום את ממשלת החירום. בלב כבד, אך בלב שלם.
Gantz stepped down the day after Israeli forces rescued 4 hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. Gantz was the only moderate in the country's far-right coalition and is considered Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's top political rival. His resignation comes as domestic and international pressure mounts on Israel to end its devastating months-long offensive against Hamas. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Before we go, check out these 3 curious and playful bears enjoying a picnic prepared by the Oakland Zoo. I'm Reece Ayers, take care, and we'll see you next time. For more news from Taiwan and around the world, download the TaiwanPlus app.